is up, YouTube? It is your boy Derek P. Fields. I just wanted to talk about the elephant on the internet in the city of Detroit, which is the firing of Jim Caldwell. I did a video a week and a half ago about the Lions losing to the Bengals and how they would not fire Jim Caldwell, but I was wrong. They wind up blowing out the Aaron Rodgers-less Packers. That game meant nothing. It literally was like a garbage game. I wish they could have packed up and went home and not even played it, but that's not how the season works. They had to play it. Big ups to the Detroit fans that got there, that went. It was cold in this city. It's still cold. And they went on New Year's Eve anyway. Shout out to them. That's what we do here in the city of Detroit. We go to games of teams that don't do anything for us. But there's a couple of things I want to talk about. Everybody is on the wanted Jim Caldwell's head on the platter. I'm not sure that is going to make a difference. I mean, everybody wants to put everything on the coach. Like, look at this. Everybody was talking about Marvin Lewis, blah, blah, blah. He's out of Cincinnati after 15 years or whatever it was. And this dude got a 2-year extension through 2019. So he's still there. All that nonsense for nothing. John Gruden has not coached in 10 years now since he last coached. Now, yeah, he won a Super Bowl, but he is the topic of everyone's conversation. If there's a good chance, he'll take the job. Don't get me wrong. I am not hating on John Gruden. He's awesome. He is a beast in the booth. Monday Night Football is not going to be the same without him. I think he is going to do something with the Raiders. I don't want to take anything away from him, but the hype that he's getting is, to me, after being out the game for almost 10 years, I don't know if that is the answer. I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I feel bad for Jim Caldwell because we have a history of just not being, we'll have good teams, we'll have okay teams. I mean, the Lions have been overachievers in the sense of they went to the playoffs 3 of his 4 years. They got smashed. They would have got smashed this year. I mean, the Rams in LA would have beat all up on the Lions. Even if the Lions squeaked past and made it to the second round, which is highly unlikely. Either Minnesota or, who is it? Who's the other people? Whoever it was. Minnesota and it's in the top. I don't remember, but they would have got just annihilated. It doesn't matter who the Lions played. Oh, let me back up a little bit. That game against Cincinnati wound up meaning absolutely nothing. Now, there are other games that meant something. The Atlanta game, the infamous run off the clock and all that, that game meant the difference. Carolina meant the difference. New Orleans meant the difference. Teams that they should have beat, they didn't. So because Atlanta won, that game was more important than Cincinnati. You know what I'm saying? So they were all important, but once they lost, because I'm kind of glad they did lose and it was over, because I knew today I would feel a lot better than I felt last week. And could you imagine if they had won that game and everybody's like, oh, we need this to happen and that to happen. Atlanta wins because we lost the way we did, or lost that game, period. We're done. So now we're 10-6 and not in the playoffs because of a call that shouldn't have been called, because personally I think he was in as his knee was touching, but that's just me. I'm not even being a fan. I'm just calling it like I see it. And then I saw a play where I can't remember, it was like week 12 or 13, where one of the teams in 7 seconds got a playoff. And I'm just like, man, we got robbed. But it just is how things go in Detroit. We are losers. That's what we do. And we lose in epic fashion. Back to Jim Caldwell. I feel bad for him. I mean, now, don't get me wrong, he getting paid and all that stuff. But I feel bad for him because he can't make people play. He can't make people catch the ball. Eric Ebron was balling out of control after the trade deadline, but before that, he was horrific, dropping passes and everything. The Lions defense is terrible. The O-line is atrocious. He can only work with what he have, right? So let's say we go get Matt Patricia. Now what? What is he going to do? He's going to scare people or bully people. Bob Quinn, he's on the right path, and I think that more than anything, this was a fresh start. That the organization wanted. It was Bob Quinn's decision. I think Martha Ford wanted to keep. She likes Jim Caldwell. Like I said, I'm going to get a lot of slack for this, but I've sat here and I watched this team. You have who was the guy? You had Goster, what's his name? Chairless or whatever the guy's name was, who was just hideous. And if you watched all 16 games this year, which I did, I mean, the Lions were getting beat off the line every single time. Matthew Stafford didn't have a chance as soon as the ball was snapped. I mean, Wagner, TJ Lane acting like he's still playing for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I don't get it. I know why they did it. I know that, but as a Detroit, you know what Detroit fans remind me of? What's his name? Steve Bartman or whatever the guy's name is that caught the ball, the foul ball, or messed up the play or whatever for the Cubs long time ago. The brother had to go into hiding. And it's like, that's how we are. We just want everybody's head on a platter. And what's going to happen is it's going to go two ways. If the Lions make it to the playoffs, win a playoff game, it'll be a quarter century at this point. Whatever good they do, it's going to be Matt Patricia or please don't get Josh McDaniels, but it's going to be, it's all him, right? It's not going to be the draft. It's not going to be free agency. It's not going to be none of that stuff. It's going to be he came in, he made a difference. Maybe, like I said, the beard scared people into catching balls. If they lose, they're going to be ready to fire him. We're going to be ready to fire him. Look at what we've done. I mean, no coach has done this. It's not the coach. It never was. I mean, instead of only coach that it could have been, to the absolute truth, was Marty Morningweg. I don't know what was going on with him. Look how long. See, this is what frustrates me about Detroit. Look how long we kept Matt Millen. He was here forever. Look, I know that we lose. That's what that's what the Lions do. They have been doing that since before I was born. I do think change is coming, and I think it's coming soon. I think Bob Quinn was probably the best decision since drafting Calvin Johnson. Quinn was saying, he kept it real. He said, we cannot beat good teams. And that's the same way it was last year. I was sitting watching those games. Matt Prater winning games, Matthew Stafford winning games. But if you look back at it, who did we beat? We didn't really beat that many people that were good. And then we get to the playoffs and we get annihilated by Seattle. We lost 3 games in a row to end the season. That's because that's who the Lions really were. I'm a man who I don't like to hate on other men. I don't play this game. I don't know. But we got some bums on our team. We need to make a change. Nevin Lawson, he's terrible. He is there have been so many pass interference, holding calls. So what was Jim Caldwell supposed to do? He's like the nickel back. Calvin Johnson is not playing this game today because he plays for the Lions. If the Lions released him, I almost guarantee he would come back. Ever since he retired, he's talked about the Lions basically own him. So if he tried to come back, they own the rights to Calvin Johnson. There's a couple reasons he probably wouldn't come back. One reason is because if he comes back, he can tarnish his legacy. I could see him going to play for the Patriots. I woke up Monday morning, Black Monday, and somebody had a good point the other day. They said, Hugh Jackson, 1 game in the past 32 games. This brother is 1-31, and he still has a job. Now, you mean to tell me he couldn't win another game, one single game? But Jim Caldwell, it was 9-7, 9-7. He only had 1 year that he didn't make the playoffs. His record was 34-26, something around there. And they let him go. And I think that they let him go because the fans would not have had it any other. And plus Bob Quinn came in and that wasn't his guy. That's why I see Matt Patricia coming to Detroit. I see him coming to Detroit because he's got a tie with Bob Quinn. He's got to cut the beard though. He's got to be professional, but will he make a difference? I don't know. I see us going 8-8, 9-7. Have you seen the schedule for next year? We play like every team that's in the playoffs this year. Everybody wants to blame Jim Caldwell. And like I said, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate. I don't know the man. I've never met him. I'm sure he's doing just fine, sitting somewhere, cashing his check. Is it really the coach? Is it really the coach, or is it Detroit, period? Is it what happens in this city? And same thing with Jim Schwartz. He was 5-0. He lasted about, I think, 5 years, and then we canned him, and now he's up to be the head coach of the Giants. Now listen to this. You know what you do if you want to win a championship? You leave Detroit. That's what you do. Cliff Averill, championship. Soon as he left, he won with Seattle. Marvin Jones stepped it up. I was like, who is he last year? But this year he did his thing. Galladay, he gonna be a mini Calvin. And but we need an O-line. You can't do anything if you're sacked the most in the NFL. Defensively, who do we have? And everybody wants to blame Jim Caldwell. And is it really Jim Caldwell? Or is it the Lions in general? Marvin Lewis, that brother ain't won a playoff game in a minute. 15 years in a game and he's still there. Hugh Jackson, 0. He is 1-31 and he still is in Cleveland. Like, oh, we're going to give him another chance. I hate to see that. I really do. Like I said, I'm not losing any sleep over it. He's getting paid. He's probably like, look, I can get out of this city. I can go somewhere where it's warm. And I actually see him head coaching again. And I bet you he takes that team. He wins with that team. It's not the coach. It's the players. It's the team. It's the culture of the city of Detroit. And this is no offense to the people that live here. It's just what we do. And when it comes to football, here it is, the Pistons, after what? Since 2008, the Pistons were last decent 10 years ago. The Lions are always, you know how people are rebuilding, the teams are rebuilding. The Pistons are not going to win a title this year. In the next 3 years, they might. They might win a title. They might get to the East Finals. Tigers, I don't know what's happening to them, but at least we went to 2 in the past, 12 years. We've been to 2 World Series. Yeah, we got blasted, but at least we had that feeling. We didn't have to wait 50 years or whatever. The Lions, I mean, come on, man. You haven't won. It took you a quarter century to almost to winning Lambeau. You have not had a 100-yard rusher in 4 years. You also have not won a playoff game since I was like in middle school. All that's the coach. Wayne Fonts was the coach. Talk about him. Bobby Ross, talk about him. Morningweg, I don't know what that dude was doing. Here's what I'm saying. If you think it's the coach and you think it's that, why don't you go get John Gruden? Tom Coughlin he went to Jacksonville and now they in the playoffs. 11-5. They probably easily could be 13-3 with Blake Bortles. Now you tell me that Matthew Stafford isn't better than him, but their defense is off the chain and they got somewhat of a line. But when you have bums on our team, I'm not talking about them as men, I'm talking about them as players. You know why Golden Tate came to this city? Because he won the title. When Seattle won their first championship, Golden Tate came to the D. You know why? Because he got his jewelry already. He like, okay, anything now is just a bonus. If you want a title, you leave Detroit. If you don't want a title, you come. I cannot wait to eat these words. I'm just frustrated because I didn't know Jim Caldwell, but he seemed to be a little consistent, a lot consistent. I don't even think Jim Schwartz in his 5 years had at least 3 winning seasons. Jim Schwartz inherited, if I'm not mistaken, he inherited the 0-16 team. We don't even get to mediocre to be good. Listen, this is the last thing I'm going to say. Every time an NFC North team every time the Lions do well, an NFC North team does better. Aaron Rodgers was hurt. Bridgewater was hurt. Bradford was hurt. The Bears weren't even a factor. You couldn't take advantage of those guys being out and win the NFC North, make the playoffs, win a playoff game. When the Lions were 11-5, I think the Packers were 12-4, 13-3, something like that. When the Lions we started off 3-1. Minnesota, they're beasting out. So it's never us. It's always a different team. Every time the Lions do well, there's an NFC North team that does better. And the Lions are always hanging on for dear life. We can't get a whack here where everybody else is dismal. What is it? The NFC South or something, where a couple years ago, Carolina was 7-8-1 and went to the playoffs. Like, what? It was probably time for a change. It probably was. I mean, that's what you do. Like, this job is one I would not want to have. I would not want to be an NFL coach. If you're in Cleveland, you got a whole lot of time. You got 48. There's no doubt that Hugh Jackson, if he don't win, if he doesn't go at least 6-10, you know what? He got to go 8-8 or he's done. Why did they give him a chance? And you mean to tell me, listen, these are NFL players, right? You can't win one game. Even same thing with the '08 Lions. They couldn't win one NFL game. These are professional players, and they can't win one game. But he gets to stay. And like I said, man, I'm not hating on anybody, any coach, any city, any nothing. I'm just frustrated when you live in the city, when you've been dealing with this for as long as we have in the city of Detroit, and you just see coaches come, go, come, go. 4 years is a little bit of time, but still, he's got something going on here. Why don't you go out, you get the players. These are professional players. Now, I'm not saying I would be perfect and catch every single ball, especially thrown from Matthew Stafford. Come on, man. As they say, what was that? Who was that, ESPN? Come on, man. Get some defense. Stop some people. Lions fans know that when it is third down, the Lions are not going to get off the field. Third and infinity, they're going Chicago, that first Chicago game. It's like fourth and whatever, man. And my man, what's his name? I don't even know his name. The Trubinsky runs for like 20 yards. And it's fourth down. That's when you can start doing something. I can't look. I'm done. Yeah, man. I'll see y'all later. Peace out.